Hello again. This is not a video I was expecting to make. Earlier today, I learned that Sonny Chiba had passed away due to complications from COVID-19 at the age of 82. Sonny Chiba had a significant influence on me before I began learning martial arts. I apologize for just my general tone for this video. Usually, my videos, I'm particularly excited, a bit more conversational. This one, zero preparation. But you're going to learn a few things about me and exactly why the passing of this martial artist, actor, director, choreographer, producer, writer, why it's a bit heavier. When I was growing up, round about the time right before I started learning martial arts, I always had that fascination with becoming a martial artist and becoming someone that I could see as someone physically capable. I was bullied a lot when I was younger, and my parents thought that it would be a good outlet for my energy, and also a way to learn to protect myself in case I needed it. I've always been the shy, introverted kid. I've always been someone that took refuge in movies and television and things like that. So around about the time that I was ready to learn martial arts, it was also about the time I started changing certain dynamics about what I was watching. There was this film, and it's The Street Fighter. Street Fighter with Sonny Chiba. It's a very well-made action film. I highly recommend it for people who like martial arts action films. There were three individuals that really stood out while I was just starting to learn martial arts. They stand out not from a celebrity status, but they stood out because of their expertise and the way that they depicted their martial arts skills. Sonny Chiba was one of the first. The others were, of course, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. All three of these men stood out to me for different reasons. Bruce Lee had finesse, power, and a dynamism that people still remember to this day. Jackie Chan particularly impressed me with his resilience. I was very taken aback as a young person by how he was able to, in his characters, and himself as an actor, was able to endure a lot of the punishment that he received during productions. Very resilient, very enduring. And then there was Sonny Chiba. And admittedly, part of my impression is shaped by that first film of his that I saw, and The Street Fighter. And that was, well, actually there's a few traits, passion and ferocity. As I've watched his films over the years, that is something that always stood out to me, is that passion and that ferocity. For those that are familiar with a lot of his movies, he usually plays very intimidating, formidable characters. And there is something about the way that he encapsulates what would be simply athleticism for, you know, a martial artist or even a stuntman. He was able to convincingly distill that and put it into his roles. And with these characters, there is always that fierceness. A lot of people know him, and I was surprised that. I mean, I understand. I understand why they make the reference. A lot of people almost know him exclusively for the Kill Bill series. Well, the Kill Bill, they say he's the Kill Bill actor. And for Kill Bill, I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, but I'm just really talking off the cuff. For Kill Bill, there are two standout performances in the film, in the two films. One is David Carradine, and he stands out as, in the first installment, as a shadowy villain. Then revealed in the second film, where it's really just David Carradine as... I didn't know the man, but almost David Carradine. It seemed very casual and very natural for him. And while he played his role very casually, almost in a novelty sort of way, Sonny Chiba was able to showcase a very expert range. In the first scene where we see him with Uma Thurman, he's playing things comedically. He has wonderful comedic timing while he's arguing with his secondary chef in the back. As we learn, he is Hattori Hanzo Dono. Dono is an honorific. He was also referred to as Hanzo-san by Bill. There's a certain pronounced dignity about the character. And in the scene where he presents Beatrix Kiddo's katana, rat killer, he gives a wonderful speech about that this sword is the finest sword that he's ever made and its capabilities. And in that scene, I was transfixed, because I had primarily known this actor for very action-oriented roles. Over the years, he did play Sengoku Jideki, which is a kind of like a subgenre Japanese film where he portrayed characters in the Sengoku Jidai period. And he usually played them with, if it wasn't, as I mentioned, that pronounced formidability, it was with the stoic dignity of the samurai. And what many people refer to as he's the Kill Bill actor, the Kill Bill, because there's that beginning narration spoken by Sonny Chiba that talks about the path that Beatrix Kiddo is taking and where she is heading, and unfortunately where such actions will lead her. And then we have the follow-up scene where he's bestowing, Hattori Hanzo is bestowing Rat Killer to Beatrix. And I was transfixed just because of the beauty in which the sacred space, he portrays a swordsmith, and it really stood out in my mind as to a maturation. Around about that time, kind of at your senior year in high school, you start seeing things a little bit differently. You start looking at things a little bit more closely, a little bit more in depth. And Western audiences primarily know him as the actor from Kill Bill. And that's okay, because he owned those scenes that he was in. He provided beautiful context for what was to come later on in the film. Unknowingly, he also starred in one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater films, The Invasion of the Neptune Men. When he started out his career, he started out as a track and field, up and comer in the Japanese equivalent of high school. Later on, he distinguished himself in gymnastics competitions. Unfortunately, he missed placing in the Japanese Olympics team when he was a young man, because unfortunately he suffered a rather drastic lower back injury. And so, as a professional gymnast, unfortunately, that career path didn't really pan out. However, because of his sheer determination, because of his determination, he went on to utilize his athletic skills, beginning to learn martial arts and then utilizing that in his films. So, and just putting this out there, he, in stateside, he's primarily known for one movie, but he starred in over 125 films. Maybe you've seen some of them, If you are into martial arts action, and you've seen films from the 70s and 80s, you have undoubtedly seen him. Maybe you didn't know it was Sonny Chiba, because he didn't play just one type of role. As I mentioned, yes, he plays formidable characters, but he also played stoic, sometimes even comedic characters. So he actually had a very impressive range. A lot of people would like to stereotype actors that appear in martial arts films as one note, or they're incapable of real acting. And this was a skill set that he possessed with abundance. He was an excellent actor. And he was someone, as I mentioned, he was one of the primary martial arts actors that really began to inspire me before I started learning martial arts. So, this is, as I mentioned before, this is a sad day. It's sad for his family, first and foremost, and to them I offer my sincere condolences. But for me, when I got this news, it was a very unpleasant surprise. That's a very basic way to express my disappointment, but yeah. And I usually don't do, when actors pass, I don't always do these types of salutes. But as I mentioned before, from the three actors that I bring up, Grandmaster Lee, he had already passed away years before, thankfully, Jackie Chan is still with us. Sonny Chiba. He was a great actor, an excellent martial artist, and he will be missed. And I highly recommend fans of karate action films, samurai films, look into his work. It's an extensive body of work, and he was a stout professional, and if you haven't seen any of his films to date, do yourself a favor and look them up. Thank you very much for joining me once again. To the family of Sonny Chiba, you have my condolences. Have a good evening.